Comics Chat audience. What is cracking? This is Leo from the Black Comics Chat crew. I'm actually managing hosting duties tonight as Marcus works on his drawing board like a plucky Alexander Hamilton, working, just not stopping. The man is nonstop. And I'm very proud to present to you tonight the Black Comics Chat crew. I'm excited. I'm hyped. We got a great guest. We're gonna chop it up. We got three of the Fantastic Four rocking it. And so I'm going to start off with Grace Gibson, who I'd love to introduce. Grace, it's awesome to have you on. How you doing?
I'm wonderful, wonderful. Good to be here this evening, and looking forward to the show. Exciting.
Sweet. I'm always happy when Grace makes time in her busy travel schedule.
Yes.
Actually, I say that. I think you've been on like the last however many shows.
Yep.
Yeah, you've been like every time.
I've been stable.
Yeah.
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx
it. I know. Now I said it. They're gonna pull her to Antarctica to like interview I don't know microscopic frozen organisms. All right, and so after Grace, we have Thelonious Legend, who literally did the last second entrance. After the green room slides in through the door. Thelonious, how you doing tonight?
Yeah, well, if I just flew to this piece just like Kramer.
Totally. Oh, that's amazing.
But this is a Black Comic Chat. You know how we do. We hold it down like gravity. Got a special guest tonight. Want to give a shout out to our boy Marcus as he puts in mad work.
Yep.
Science, and he'll be joining us again at the next chat. But until then, we're gonna do what we do.
That's right.
That's how it works. And Thelonious, without Marcus here, that means the fourth member of Black Comics Chat tonight is going to be Ted Lange, who we're really, really happy to have here. And Ted, if you want to just introduce yourself, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. This is it's pretty cool. I'm excited.
I'm hyped, man. Like I reached out to Ted. I want to say it was a minute ago. It was probably like 4 months ago or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, like what pulled me to Ted like immediately was his incredible avatar that he had, which has since changed to Don Knotts, which respect. That's cool.
Old RF, dude, Ralph Furley.
Martial
arts master.
Oh man, Three's Company is like my heart. Like I grew up on that hardcore.
And for cats that ain't up on the urban colloquialisms, a minute is
You translate for me?
Measure of time. It could be anything from like a minute to like a century.
Thelonious is like the sign language lady that's in the corner in the little circle. Like let's coalesce, gang. All right.
We got my man on, so he might be bringing some of this crew in, and I didn't know it was up on there. Urban colloquialism. So
right on
the same page.
No, I appreciate Thelonious. This is what I love about Black Comic Chat. We pick each other up. You know what I'm saying? Like one of us missed a shot, like we right there. I appreciate that. So I'm saying I saw Ted. Ted had an awesome avatar, which is actually a featured character from the comic that we're probably going to talk a bit about today, which is Warp Zone from Rosarium Publishing. Any listeners of the show, I'm sure, are familiar with Rosarium. We had some of those peeps up in here. They had a wildly successful, in my opinion, Indiegogo campaign.
Crazy successful.
Man,
yes.
Just like the crew, it feel like just who got in there? Neil Gaiman got in there.
Neil Gaiman got in there.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing, man. It was pretty awesome because we didn't know. You know what I mean? We didn't know like how it was gonna go, and it really just sort of it was kind of amazing the way it got picked up and people sort of got on board with it.
It like blew up from a point, but that's not without those people getting involved, you guys made like some dough. Like I want to say like it was like 20 thou or something like that when they got involved.
Yeah.
Like
we were close.
Yeah. Like that campaign was like rock solid, and we were all really happy to see that. It was fantastic.
I mean, it was great. Oh, sorry.
No, Ted, please.
I was gonna say just to kind of. Not to be too braggadocious or whatever, but we did about $5,000 over our goal.
Mm-hmm.
What Black Comic Chat is for you to brag.
Yeah, this is your platform, dude.
Don't act like you up in church. You ain't got to be modest up in this piece. Go ahead and drop it.
You know, Black Comic Chat means no humility. No, this is a
Okay,
no
all right.
humility
I think
area.
you come on to promote yourself, and if you ain't gonna promote yourself, who's gonna do it?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
No, so but this is all a long ways to say that when I first saw that original Avatar that Ted had, I was just like, what is this? And that's when I actually went and like investigated what he was working on. At the time, Warp Zone hadn't yet released. In the time since I invited him on the show, it did come out. And so you could say that was a risk. I'm like, I think I saw this dude's work. I've been seeing what he's tweeting. I think he's going to be a worthy guest. And then his actual comic dropped, and I was absolutely confirmed on that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
Again, since I'm doing the role of well, what did you call me, Leo?
Yeah, the sign language interpreter.
Leo was saying that the social media game hype. That social media game was lit.
No, serious. He was posting out like some fantastic art. So again, as a matter of introduction, Ted, tell us who you are. Tell us about Warp Zone. Tell us what's going on.
My name is Ted Lange IV. I am the writer and artist of Warp Zone, which is Rosarium Publishing's Afrofuturistic comic odyssey. It is about characters who live in a world where space travel is possible through, the standard starships or whatever. But if you it's an expensive way to travel. So if you don't have the money to roll like that, you got to find a warp zone to get from place to place. There's also space buses too, so there's a public transport. But it's warp zones are the ideal way to travel. It's weird. Like the comic, I've kind of designed it, in the first one especially, as sort of a mystery box situation. Mm. So there's stuff going on, stuff that's happening, and that I don't want. I don't want to spoil too much. I want to because there's a lot of stuff that happens in issue 1 that gets paid off in issue 2. That I'm setting up stuff in issue 2 that's going to get paid off in issue 3. I don't know how much is too much to say.
There's dominoes being positioned in issue 1.
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. I'm setting it up. I'm going for the long game in this one.
Yeah, no, and any readers that want to check it out, I'm going to tweet out a link to Warp Zone at Rosarium. I think I'm mispronouncing Rosarium. I'm giving it
I think it's Rosarium. Yeah.
Rosarium. I'm making it Rosarium.
Yeah.
I'm kind of white peopling, but so yeah, I'll tweet out some links to Warp Zone. I personally, I think the comic is a ton of fun. It looks stellar. It looks really unique. Doesn't really look like most of the comics that you're gonna randomly open up. I see immediately the stuff that hit me from it was I got a strong Von Bodie vibe from it.
I'm a big fan of Von Bodie.
I think that was abundantly clear in the pages, and I'm a massive fan of Von Bodie as well.
The cover, I agree with you, Leo. I think the cover is great. It reminds me kind of like tagging back in the 80s and 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I mean, it's that type of artistic flair. That type of artistic talent. It reminds me New York in the 80s and 90s when cats was coming up on their tagging games. So.
Right.
I mean, I've got to say that the documentary Star Wars is that's one of my favorite.
Oh, dude. I think that's the greatest hip hop movie ever made.
Yeah. That really, I think, informed a big part of the comic.
That makes utter sense. And when I say that, that's not even hyperbole. I think I'm prone to hyperbole. I think period that is the greatest hip hop movie ever made. It's also that movie is actually at the center of some thus now unseen Snow Days story stuff.
Ooh,
okay.
Yeah.
That's actually exciting. Star Wars.
Star Wars, right?
Yeah, Star Wars. It's a documentary about a graffiti artist. It was weird because it was one of those things where who got it? It was Chalfant and Fab Five Freddy, I think, also worked on it or was involved in some way. Was he or no? I know
I believe so. He's in it at the very least. He's in it.
I know that Chalfant got it going on. It's one of those rare things where it's a documentary. It's a cultural artifact that they got there so early in the game.
Yeah.
It's it's rare that a documentary is usually told in past tense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And this is a movie where it's these dudes were so attuned. These are the guys who Chalfant is the guy who did a bunch of graffiti books, including Subway Art, I think, was like his big one that kind of broke him. And he was just like there, like the second he saw this happening, he's like, I want to be on the ground floor of this. I want to document what work these people are doing. And it's got Is the Wiz as like a kid, yeah, like a bunch of like the graffiti greats. And graffiti, I think, is another important touchstone for what Warp Zone looks like and kind of evokes. So that seems to make tons of sense. And and video games are also, I mean, the title, obviously, we got.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm a big time gamer, so maybe we can get into some gaming talk later while the other two sleep. They're gonna be like, just snoring in the background. But we can talk about some video game stuff later. But so before we jump right into Warp Zone, I had one other curious question before we shine the spotlight fully on you, Ted. You have a sibling that does comics, is that right?
I do indeed. My brother Turner Lange is also a member of the Rosarium crew. He does a comic called The Adventures of Wally Fresh.
Mm-hmm.
What's up with your brother? What's he up to?
He's actually at home. He's working on the next one right now, man. He is. He's got them queued up. Like he's got, I think he's either the fourth or fifth issue just dropped yesterday. And he's like working on a 0 issue. He's got volume 2 getting ready to go. Like he's got it going, man. He's a workhorse. He does not sleep.
Is he your older brother?
No, we're actually, I'm 4 years older. But he's been, he actually got, like, because I kind of stopped making, we both always drew comics. I stopped for a while, and he just kind of kept going with it.
Power through.
Yeah, and, like, I, like, stopped and started writing theater for about 4 years. And
my goodness, that's an eclectic resume.
That is, yeah.
It's kind of random. But it was kind of good for me in a way because I was part of this group called the Vault Ensemble we were based at the Los Angeles Theater Center in downtown LA, and basically we were doing, when it was all said and done, we were doing about a show a month, cranking shit out, and it really taught me a lot about just writing in general, writing for an audience. You guys know, like writing comics, it's very lonely, it's very insular, like.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, like, because I would send stuff out to my friends, comics out, and be like, want to, like, stand over their shoulder while they read it, what do you think of that? What do you think of that? How about that?
Oh, well, just writing period is an incredible exercise in ego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because you actually want people to take time out of their schedule to read something that you wrote, and then you want immediate feedback.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and so if they don't get it, and you become like a clingy girlfriend or a clingy boyfriend. I mean that's what you do. Be like, so you're cyber stalking them. Hey, have you finished that yet? Did you get any thoughts about that?
You're just like wringing your hands.
Yeah. Our writers have been there.
Yeah. That's why I'd like say, like, writing for theater is great because you get an immediate reaction. I was writing sketch comedy. So, like, I had, like, it's like, it's laughing's an honest reaction, like, especially a room full of strangers, they're not gonna, you know what I mean? They're gonna laugh or they're not gonna laugh.
So you're a funny dude. Tell us a joke.
Oh, man, that's...
Really?
On
the
spot.
You're not going to be authentic.
I'm just a joke file here.
Oh, man.
No, man, I'm just playing.
About to drop the aristocrats on you.
Oh, shit.
All right, so you know what, Ted? I guess we're getting ahead of ourselves because it sounds like we're hearing formative stuff here.
Oh, shit.
So a common question we usually bring up on Black Comic Chat is to kind of know about your origin story, specifically with how it relates to comics.
Okay,
so when you were a kid, what were the first comics you found, and what was the impetus that actually drove you to creating your own?
Okay, when I was a kid, my dad was a comic collector. He had some old Iron Mans from back in the day. He also had most of the Secret Wars, the original Secret Wars.
Wow.
And then also Gary Larson's Far Side books all around the house.
I used to sweat those.
Dude, in every bathroom. Not to disrespect, because I think those are genius. Like,
yeah.
That's like, I feel like made up a big part of my. That's a big part of my comic DNA is the Far Side. But the thing about Secret Wars is, I know Secret Wars is kind of like looked down upon now, but as a kid, it's just to sell toys or whatever. But as a kid, it was like the perfect, like, when you go to the Chinese food spot and get the poo-poo platter, like a little bit of everything.
It's got it all. It's got the shrimp toast.
It's got everything. Yeah. So I'm like, oh, okay. The X-Men, they're cool. I want to go check their book out. Oh, like the Avengers, they're cool. I want to, so it kind of was a gateway to the world of comics, So I think that was the beginning. That's where it all started.
You had Comic Book Dad.
Yeah, it was Comic Book Dad. And then at a certain point, he was like, yo, like, I'm not into this shit as much as, he's like, you really dig it. You really like comics. And he kind of, I think he sort of fell out of it, Yeah. So that's
I think that's a new one for us as far as or kind of like a continuation, because I want to say Regina was kind of had a similar situation where it's kind of like a pass down type thing. So
Great, Grace, we're on the same wavelength. I was thinking also like how generally rare I feel it is with guests that we hear about Comic Book Dad. Not some of the comic book dads that we hear about. So that's encouraging.
Yeah.
Thelonious, did you have a Comic Book Dad?
I was raised by a single mom, so.
Well, so was I. Do you have a comic book mom?
No, I
he elongated it.
No. She. I mean, but I was. I think it goes to show I was a different kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was pretty good in sports, but I also had a ferocious appetite for reading. And my siblings was like, something is wrong with this dude. He always got a book in his hand, right? And there was like no Blurred back then, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And the nerd prototype, you couldn't be like a nerd and then be captain of the wrestling team. So I was just like, we don't know what to do with this cat. But we tried fighting him and that didn't work. So, and my mom was just like, if the boy likes to read, I'm taking him to the library because that kept me out of trouble. You know what I mean? So she didn't know what I read. She just knew I wanted to go to the library, to the bookstore to get comic books, and it kept me off the street. So she was nurtured in that way. She thought it was a healthy outlet for me, and she didn't deter me from it.
I mean, yeah, like, because it's still reading, and I think to this day, like, the idea of comic books being a gateway drug to further reading has persisted, which is good, which is a good thing. Grace, I've never asked you, did you have a comic book parent?
My grandmother. So
my goodness.
And it was more of comic strips. So she used to read the newspaper and the comic strips, and I would look and be like, I want to do that. Like, I want my newspaper. I want my comic strips, And so the funnies that came in every Sunday, she was like, this is your paper. So this is what you get to read while I read mine. So I was like, oh my God, I felt like, this big kid, I was this was like 4 years old, so I'm feeling real special. And so I'm reading Peanuts, Beetle Bailey, Calvin and Hobbes,
Beetle Bailey,
Hagar and Horrible,
all that's the gem.
So that was like my introduction in, and because my grandmother's like, hey, little did she realize like that would feed into something like massive. To her, she thought she was just keeping me busy, because I was just trying to copy her, but it would evolve into something to what it is today. So very truly grateful for that. So yeah, that was my entry point in. So
that's a great story. I think that's great.
That's
awesome.
That is.
Yep.
I'm happy about comic book parents. This is a good thing. I'm sorry, I interrupted you, Ted. So you started off. Dad got you in comics. Dad kind of stepped out.
Yeah. There's a certain point where I think he was like. He's like, I like comics, but it's like, this is, he's like, I think that's when the Blurred kicked in, like the proto-Blurred, thing where it's like, I'm buying Marvel Universe books and like memorizing, like what each character can like bench press or whatever, like what their power is, where they live in Manhattan, kind of thing.
I did that.
Yeah, and he was just kind of, I guess it was kind of like, here's the torch, you run with it, like, God bless you on your journey, of nerdery, of geekery.
Okay, so there you are starting your journey. When does a pen touch a pad?
I started drawing when I was probably about 10 years old. It was like, yeah. I started drawing. And I got the How to Draw Comics the Marvel way.
I've still got it. Yep.
Yeah. I just found it the other day. I was like, oh shit, which is basically just like how to draw like John Buscema.
Exactly.
Like, okay, like there's nothing wrong with that, but whatever. And then I would just copy comics. I was copying Far Side comics. I was copying everything, and then actually it got to the point where when I was in grade school, just to further my love of Gary Larson, I had a rip-off comic when I was 11 called The Near Side, which was
really?
Yeah, my love for Gary Larson went deep. Like it was, I emulated him in every way. Yeah, and then that just kind of went on into high school. When I was a sophomore, there's a school out here called the Los Angeles County High School for the Arts, and I went there for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade, and from there, I got introduced to Pratt, and I went to Pratt for undergrad. So that's sort of the educational journey there.
Okay, all right. So you went to Pratt. You've got a brother who's kind of cooking up on some comics as well.
Yes.
When did the germination of Warp Zone start to pollinate?
I had been living in Brooklyn I stayed in Brooklyn for a while after I graduated, and I had been I think I always got caught up with just sort of survival, like in New York.
I'm still caught up.
Yeah, like that. Like shit is real out there.
Yeah.
It's really real. So I was kind of I never was able to focus enough because I was always working. Or just stressed, I think. So it was hard for me to actually get stuff done. But I moved back to LA, and after moving back, I had a lot of disparate ideas that kind of sort of congealed and became what Warp Zone is. It was kind of I had some characters that I was drawing in New York, but not the story, not the world. I moved to LA, kind of got back into it, started sort of flexing my sort of theater writing muscles, and sort of figured out what the world is, who the characters are, and what they're doing. And I just kind of, my brother had these, sort of print on demand places figured out, set up. So I started, printing them up through them, and we started tabling at WonderCon. And I just sort of rolled with it. It's just been kind of non-stop since then.
I probably passed by you a couple times because I've gone to WonderCon for the last 3 years.
Oh, I love WonderCon.
Probably passed by your table and maybe even spoke to you and all that and never realized it. Look at
that.
So
yeah.
I'm gonna have to make an intention now to make sure to find you there. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. I love WonderCon. It's so cool because I've never tabled at Comic-Con because it's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's I like to just walk around and I also like the idea of being able to leave in the middle of the day, because it's too much. WonderCon is just chilled out enough where you can,
So have you ever worked in the private sector, or did you just throw the gauntlet down and be like, I'm gonna make it as a creative, or I ain't gonna make it?
Oh man, I mean I'm still working in the private sector. I'm when I was in New York, I was always working in production.
What does working in production mean?
I was
narcotics.
Yeah.
Street pharmaceuticals.
I would go. I would get the baking soda from the grocery store.
I mean, I have no idea what working in production means.
Well, basically, when I was in New York, I was working music video and commercial production, which is PA. It's basically just whatever nobody else wanted to do. That's what you had to do. Driving cube trucks,
okay, right.
Passenger vans. There was one time where I was working on an R&B video, and I had to drive a 16-passenger van through rush hour Manhattan, rush hour in the morning, Midtown Manhattan, and the dude is in the back. I got the whole crew smoking a blunt. I'm like, dude, you got to roll the window down because I'm not trying to crash this this van in Times Square with.
Got to hotbox the bus.
Was it Al B. Sure? Can you tell us?
No. I probably shouldn't say. I don't even know if the dude is still around, but I was just like, dude, this is.
So no harm, no foul. Then we'll talk about.
Yeah. I mean, it was fine. I mean, I did it. They got there safe, so it was okay. But
right.
So there's a lot of stuff like that. But it just sort of got to a point where I wasn't happy. I was just sort of working to live, you know, like just to make, you know, whatever. And I was sort of in Prospect Heights, Brooklyn, which was getting the gentrification wave was like on the horizon.
Yeah. What year we talk? What years are we talking about here?
I was in New York from 1997 until 2008.
Oh, so you were right. You saw it all.
Yeah. I saw it happen. And basically, this is the way it breaks down. Like, in Prospect Heights, me and my brother lived in this. We're like right off of Eastern Parkway, a couple blocks away from the museum. We lived in a building. The first floor was a bombed-out bodega. Like the iron shutter was always down, never open. We were there for a couple years. I come down one day. There's a sign in the window that says "wine bar coming." I'm like, that's a wrap. Done. And sure enough, dude, the next time we got our lease, they jacked it up like, you know, the rent like $1,000. I'm like, dude, this is like, so I can't do it.
Like, I mean, because that's like illegal in some places.
Right. I mean, it wasn't there. You know.
Yeah. It is and it isn't, Thelonious. Like, technically it is, but like, I mean, there's probably a ton of legal about the place where they were living to begin with. Like, it's kind of the least of the worries of the landlord.
Right.
Yeah. They get away with that all the time. When I first moved back to New York City, I lived in upstate New York for 7 years, and when I first moved back, we had an apartment on Graham Avenue right outside of gentrified Williamsburg. And then literally the second year, it was like an insane jack up, and I was like, okay, all right, that's, you know, we're out of here. I live in the Bronx now. I've been living in the Bronx about 10 years, but I grew up in New York. I saw I saw the wine bars. I saw the wine bars.
Yeah.
You know, I saw the tapas hit New York hard. You know.
Oh, yeah.
It hit New York like crack, right?
It's serious.
Exactly.
You got that tapas, dog?
Yeah. No, it's pretty crazy. All right, and so then you were off to the West Coast.
Yeah, then I moved, and I grew up in LA. I kind of wanted to experience LA as an adult because it would, you know, from 97 to 08, it would be like for a couple weeks or a month at a time. I'd come back, and it's like you don't really I mean, you know, you're in the city, but you don't really know, you know what I mean? You're not living there.
Yeah.
I wanted to give it a try, and I mean, I've enjoyed it out here. You know, I like reconnected with a lot of friends. Like, there's a community of people making independent comics out here. That's really cool. And yeah, it's just like, I think it's, for me and like my temperament, it's easier for me to work, or to balance day job stuff and comics until, you know, until comics is like sort of a feasible, you know, economic influx, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I mean, the West Coast in general, I mean, is pretty much what would you call that? That's like the golden crescent of independent comics alone. You know, that's kind of where I feel like independent comics were born, in San Francisco largely.
Yeah.
And that's the fun.
Oh yeah, that's right. Oh yeah.
Crucible.
And then you've got like the Hernandez brothers that were
right.
Those comics really do have an LA like flavor to them. Like, it's like the true LA. Like there's like sort of the LA that is on TV or whatever, that's like sort of the superficial, like Entourage kind of bullshitty stuff. But there's there's some cool stuff out here. It's just hard to find. It's not like New York where you can walk outside your house and just like stumble into some cool shit. Like, you have to kind of like dig out here. But there is like some really, it's a cool city, you know. I mean, that superficial aspect is here. It does exist, but like, if you don't focus on it, you know, if you look other places, there's a cool vibe out here.
That's awesome. All right, so you're back kind of you're back at your roots. You start doing Warp Zone. Now, you did mention Style Wars. We talked about Von Bodie a bit and independent comics in general. But what's your video games connection to
like
where,
I'm
where
not
does that come from?
huge gamer right now. Like
Hmm.
like a lot of the stuff that like, and especially with Warp Zone that I reference is like a lot
Pretty
of the
classic.
8-bit, yeah, the 8-bit, 16-bit like old school stuff. So I mean, we're talking like Super Mario is like probably a huge, into like Super Mario 3 probably specifically. Zelda, and like I have to say, like I don't like now probably the most recent game that I've really been super into, and this was a long time ago, so I'm gonna totally date myself, is Shadows of the Colossus. So
Oh man,
yeah,
that's one of my 5 favorite games of all time.
that game is awesome. I think it's really fucking cool.
Yeah, that's yeah, like it's crazy because the guy who created that, he's their studio is putting out the new-ish. Apparently this year it's supposed to finally come out, The Last Guardian, which is the game they've been working on for like 8 years or something, which was the follow-up to that, maybe a spiritual successor. But yeah,
Right.
that game is really in its own class. It's really its own thing.
Now you so I've seen like on the Rosarium site, and if I googled you and all that, and so you're very intentional in saying that the comic is Afrofuturistic, and so what elements of Afrofuturism do is like incorporated within Warp Zone, or and why the decision to choose that type of, I guess, framework, so to speak.
I feel like representation is a big issue, and I feel
Hmm.
like it's not like when we talk about black people of color in popular fiction. It's like it's kind of like, I guess it's getting better, but
Right.
there's not like a lot. So I wanted to make something that, first of all, like represented myself. Like I want to see myself represented,
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, also it's like something that's kind of true to my experience. It's a way for me to uh, sort of write about life, and kind of
Right.
make it fantastical and make it weird and funny and whatever. And I felt like Afrofuturism was the something that had been established, specifically like sonically, I guess, but like as
Right.
far as like comics, there's not like a whole hell of a lot. Like there are Afrofuturist comics, but there's not like a lot.
Hmm. True.
It's
True.
it's ground that hasn't been like tread the way the origin of Superman has. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Hmm.
Is there a clear definition for Afrofuturism?
The, no, go ahead, Ted.
I was just gonna. I mean, my like shorthand is I usually just say black sci-fi, but
That works.
yeah, like it's something that's sort of it's like a future. It's like black people looking, or people of color, I'm gonna say, looking to the future, so that they can sort of take a hold of the past and the present.
Right.
Okay.
It's a form of empowerment. Like to me, and this isn't specifically Afrofuturistic, but just the image of the Falcon in these like Marvel movies flying, like that's kind of crazy.
Right.
That's a black man flying. Like you don't really see that a lot.
Hmm.
It's
Or
true.
even,
Last
or
time you saw
even
that was like,
us. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say like the last time you saw somebody that's like Richard Pryor, Superman 3, and Superman is carrying it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's like, and this is like a black dude under his, like with his, he's found his power. He's like, he's flying. That's some crazy shit to me. That's a strong
Right.
metaphor.
Does Meteor Man fly? I think Meteor
He
Man
does,
flies.
but
He
he's
does.
afraid
Yeah.
of heights, and he only goes like 3 feet off the ground.
That's right.
And
No disrespect. It's a good
So
movie.
it's interesting you guys mentioned that because I think it was just this week. An establishment figure says that they're going to make a diverse comic or a diverse property with a hit girl or something
Oh Lord.
something
And
like that, right?
you're talking about Mark Millar, aren't you?
Mm, that's
Well, I didn't want to drop any
You
name.
said, you said the M word.
He did. He hinted at the M word. Marcus.
By the way, this is Marcus. What's up, y'all?
Marcus,
Hey, how's
what's
it going,
going
man?
on? Yo, you made it, man. That's cool. Yeah,
And so
you made it for the worst part.
No, I actually walked in on Shadow of the Colossus, so I'm
Oh,
cool.
okay. All right, cool.
yeah. And so I was just wondering. And there was a little kick up with the Orange is the New Black because I guess the storyline. And I haven't watched it. So
I'm sorry.
I have. So yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Might need
I
to.
want
won't-
to
I
hear
won't-
your thoughts, Grace. No,
Yeah.
I want to hear your thoughts later.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Because I
Yeah,
definitely
well,
have.
so, but what I was going with that was because there was and Grace could tell me if I'm wrong, but there was some dissatisfaction with fans of color with some of the way
Yes.
storylines are dealt, and then there was a picture that's been flying around about the writers' room.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Ooh.
writers' room is homogeneous, and so I want to say we're talking about Afrofuturism, but who has ownership of these stories?
That's
Oh, man, that's a good question.
that's a seriously relevant question. I mean, because I feel like there is an unspoken tenet of like Afrofuturist expression, which is that it's made by people of color. It is
Yeah.
as a rule.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, it typically is, or those of the African diaspora, which they like
Right.
to incorporate into.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, like it's not like white people like making black people fly, which is
Right.
cool, which I don't think anyone's like gonna like cry at someone about, but there is like I think when you talk about ownership and like the idea of like I almost feel like the definition of Afrofuturism that like I grew up with was it's just positioning black bodies in space in science fiction scenarios
Yep.
because that was at the time when like that art movement kind of started churning. It just didn't happen like aside from
Right.
Rosarium. Like that was it. So it was like just putting the bodies in there. Just put the body there. It's like the context is almost irrelevant just to see it so that people can like fixate on the image because it was so odd.
Right.
And like now it's like on kind of like there's I don't know the idea of now people wondering about like where ownership sources from it. It's like we've seen way too many white writers' rooms lately.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
And the great thing with like Afrofuturism is like well, another comic that comes to mind when I think of Afrofuturism is particularly like the Milestone comics.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then even Cyborg, you know, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, that's kind of like my draw into it as well. And then like my first initial was like Octavia Butler and like Samuel Delaney's work.
Yeah.
And, you know, because they were like you said, inserting black bodies into sci-fi when people were like, black people don't exist in the future. And they were like, no, we here, we've been here. And, you know, so kind of like to re-examine, revise, interrogate the whole, this aesthetic, you know, so to speak. So, yeah, and, you know, even more interesting. So like W.E.B. Du Bois has also kind of been like noted as like one of the fathers of Afrofuturism, which a lot of people don't realize because he wrote sci-fi short stories back in the day.
Right.
So because a lot of people kind of see more of the recent stuff, like say like Octavia Butler or even music-wise, Sun Ra, Parliament, Funkadelic, all of that. So
I also like to reference Deltron 3030.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like something that people like. I mean, people know about it, but like it's one of the greatest. I mean, just
Were
just
you
as
up
much
on
as-
the new one though? Were you up on the new one? I couldn't quite get into it.
I mean, yeah, I didn't. I think I had been waiting for it for so long. It's like one of those things. It's like when Episode 1 Star Wars came out, you know. Like, I don't want. Oh, I shouldn't say that because like no, seriously. Like I respect Adele and Dan the Automator. Like I think
they're massive.
You know what I mean? Like, but like I definitely was feeling the first album more, but it was like such a surprise. Like it was out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It's like
what year was that? That was like
I feel like that was like 99, 2000.
Yeah, I want to say 99.
Was it even in the 90s still? It was still.
You know,
I feel like it was like 01. It was like right at the cusp.
Yeah, it was in that general time period.
Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's something I heard, and I was like, I remember I was in New York, I was in somebody's dorm room, and they had it on vinyl, and they dropped the needle, and that first track dropped. I'm like, what is this, an orchestra? Like, what is this fucking beat? Like, this is crazy. This dude's talking about stealing mechs. What the fuck? This is all of my shit. Like, this is so cool. Like, and it's the like, there's the thing of like what I'm trying to put into words on is like this sense of like mystery. Like, you don't know what's gonna happen. Like, what, like Deltron 3030, is he gonna win the rap battle? Like, why did he get kicked out of the Intergalactic Rhyme Federation? I don't know, but I want to know. You know.
Well, that, you know what? Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, sorry about my bad.
No, it's all good. That actually, because that's the question I have. You guys may have touched on this before I got on, but like the way that the narrative is told in Warp Zone is so, like, yeah, I guess, you know, like I could almost see it as a song or whatever. But
Yeah.
I guess I just wanted to hear your thoughts on how you approach the storytelling element. I know you've been kind of touching on it, but I'm really interested in hearing that.
I mean, I have a very specific way of working. Like, I assemble it like almost like a puzzle. Like, I try, and this is when I was doing theater. This is the way we worked. We would do a show a month, and we would put it up for about 6 months. We take the best material from that 6 months, turn it into a bigger, like, cohesive hour-and-a-half show. So. I draw and draw and write and write and write and draw and draw and write and write and draw until I have all the pieces assembled, and then I put it together. Which is, I don't know, like, I guess it's almost like I'm writing visually. Mm-hmm. I kind of like, I mean, comics is such a powerful medium, and I feel like almost comics and theater are very close in a way because they're both like there's a very intimate connection with the audience that I guess the artist like sort of has, and it's something that changes. It's a symbiotic relationship. If there's in a show, like, you know, you can go see a play in like 2 different nights, and it could be 2 totally different performances, you know, and it's the same way with if 2 different people reading a comic, you know, like, you might have a certain voice in your head for Jack Elsewhere than I have. You know what I mean? Like, it's it's like it's a varied experience and very dependent on the viewer. I think as much as the art itself. Whereas like with movies, like, it doesn't matter. It's going to be what it is, no matter what, no matter where you play it. Nobody could be in the room and you could turn it on, you know, whereas a comic is like sitting there. It's like potential energy. It's like waiting to be read, you know.
Yeah, it's weird because like even though comics are, you know, kind of by their definition for the most part are full of this like this imagery that is an attempt to guide. It's almost like we all read the story with our own player.
Yeah.
Like, everybody has their individual player, even though the images are there on the page.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I like that puzzle approach. I mean, it makes sense when you describe it that way. It kind of fits in with how I see it. Now, do you find that method of writing visually is more time consuming, or is it does it work out in the opposite direction?
I think it is kind of time consuming. I try to think of it like almost like a movie, or, you know, if I was shooting a movie, like, you know, this panel doesn't work, so I'm gonna swap it out with a different one. You know what I mean? Like a different take. And also, like, if I'm writing, like, there may be, I can write something and be like, okay, like, they're supposed to have this reaction, as opposed to if I draw it out and like something kind of unexpected happens on the page, I'm like, oh, like, he's not saying that, he's saying this. Like, you know, like just like drawing an eyebrow a certain way, like, can totally change somebody's expression, and it's like, oh, like, this is happening, like, this is something else, you know. Yeah, so I guess, I don't know, it's kind of try to go organically with it. Yeah.
Well, I feel like Marcus and I approach Snow Days in that same. I don't know if in the puzzle way necessarily, but in the setting up the dominoes way. Like with our issue 1, like, we positioned like a lot of the moving pieces there, but a bunch of them didn't even move. You know, because there is that kind of you want to build an environment for the story to take place, or at least I want to, or Marcus and I maybe, if I want to speak for him, want to build an environment, environment for the story to take place rather than just a series of events that occur.
Right.
No.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, Ted.
I was just gonna say, yeah, it's like you kind of want to set yourself up for. It's like, yeah, it's a big story. I think that's kind of frustrating. The one frustrating thing for me is that it takes
forever
long to make and for them to be out, because there's shit in issue 2 that like I really want people to see so I can like go to the next bit. Like there's little character like motivations and things that I can't fit like into 24 pages, so it has to get pushed like to the next issue. You know what I mean? Like, but I have to like kind of wait. You know, it's yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, you're still on that the day job grind too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll kill you, man.
Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah, we're
not literally, but you know what I'm saying.
No, we're talking from the belly of the beast right now. Now, we were talking about Afrofuturism before, and I think, Grace, this is of special interest to you right at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, my dissertation is going to be is incorporating Afrofuturism in comics. So I've taken a very invested interest in. I wrote an article on how like Janelle Monáe is seen kind of like this new princess of Afrofuturism. So I have a very invested interest in. I'm like even investigating the use of the hashtag on Twitter. So yeah, because of its popular or growing popularity, I'm like, while I can talk about comics and it's fresh and new in academia and as well as Afrofuturism, I'm like all on board with it, and I feel like more people should be aware of it and who aren't, and realize that a lot of the stuff that we talk about or have been talking about, are examples of Afrofuturism, but there was just never like this label or a name kind of attached to it. So yeah, to me, for specifically my work with the comics, like I'm looking at characters like Misty Knight. I'm even looking at Storm and Rocket from the Milestone comics as these like female representations of Afrofuturism within comics. So and kind of like developing and interrogating and critiquing their story and their narrative. So yeah.
That's cool.
So yeah, that's why I'm like really like, oh, this is great, and then even at the same time another comic that I can incorporate into the dissertation. So don't be surprised if you see it get mentioned in there somehow. So
please, yeah, no, get it out there. I'm ready for people to read, man. Yeah.
Right on. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's. I feel like we're seeing more of it now, and man, Janelle Monáe is kind of an interesting like reference for that too, because I feel like a lot. I don't know about all of it, but a lot of it seemed to follow her into this modern day, like since she kind of appeared, since the what was the record, the Android, what was the name of the record? The
Arc Android.
Yeah, the Arc Android record, and it was like kind of after that was becoming more apparent.
Right, or even before Arc Android with Metropolis, like the very first EP, so.
Well, yeah, and I think with her too, it's well, you referenced Sun Ra and some of the people who came by musically previously, but I just feel that like just everything that she puts into it, by the fact that she actually builds the narrative into the music, and then like just the dances and the just the total package of it is so engaging that what I mean. It can't help but inspire people the way I see it.
I like too that when it ends up in music, it's like inherently there's a story that like that comes with it. You know what I mean? It's like with all the funkadelic stuff, is like there's like this whole like mythology that kind of unfolds with like all the different, the Bob Gun and the freaking Cernos and everybody.
Right.
It's this cool element. It's like you already have the soundtrack. I don't know. It's cool that and with Janelle Monáe, it's like there's the story of like sort of that comes along with it that's unfolding. I think is really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Parliament too. I they don't always come up in the discussion, but yeah, you definitely gotta include them.
The whole mothership reference.
Yeah, they're cute.
Yeah. I'm actually going to be in a Funkadelic, a P-Funk art show
Oh wow.
next month at Meltdown Comics
Oh, cool.
on Sunset. So if anybody, any listeners are out here or going to be out here, you should definitely check it out. Some really cool folks that are involved in that one.
Because even their album covers, like I've been noticing, like are definitely on that whole, sci-fi for futuristic level. So, and like that was way before, our time and stuff. So,
Way before, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I feel like there's like that's another interesting thing about the kind of crossover with hip hop in general too, is that a lot of people back in the day that when they started sampling records, a lot of them were sampling records that just looked cool, whether they knew it or not. And so Parliament, I feel like, got jacked a lot. Just because those records like looked like another world, and they were like, I don't know what this is, but there's probably something good on it.
Yeah.
Right.
I like how that filters into the DNA of like something like like Dr. Dre or like freaking Ice Cube. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's like the story continues. You know what I mean? Like even on a track, like on Ice Cube's Bop Gun track, it's like the second part of the legacy. It's like he meets up with the
original
mothership. It goes into the beats. I'm a huge fan of Bernie Worrell too. Like I was watching a documentary where they said he would come up with like his own sounds. Like he made up sounds for a lot of those records. Which is a very sci-fi, like, what's the guy from Star Wars, like Ben Burt or whatever, that came up with R2-D2 and all the weird
sounds, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Chewbacca's growl and all that kind of stuff. Like, I think that's a very, it's a big part of storytelling.
For sure.
And it filters into the music and the movies, I guess, or whatever. I don't know.
No, absolutely, and that's a very good point, because as much as we love Star Wars, between John Williams and all the sound designers that came up with those iconic sounds, it wouldn't have been the same movie without those masterful sound manipulations.
Yeah.
So it's vital.
Yeah. All right. So Ted, how did you actually get hooked up with Bill and Rosarium Publishing? How did that happen?
Actually, my brother connected with him first, and I forget how my brother was talking to one publisher, and then they referred him to Bill, and then my brother referred me to Bill after that, and he was kind of like, Warp Zone is funky, it's cool, like let's put it out there. So and I mean before that I was just like I said before, just kind of grinding in the small press. Me and my brother would just get tables and print on demand and put the stuff out there. And it's been it's really cool to have somebody to bounce off of, because then it's not as much of a vacuum. Also, because I kind of thrive off of like getting feedback. So Bill's been really good about that kind of stuff, man. He's El Jefe Grande, like he's the man, like he's.
Oh, that's what's up. And I'm sorry, I'm actually not familiar with your brother's comic. What's the subject matter of his work?
The Adventures of Wally Fresh. It's about a guy. It takes place in 2008, and it's during the economic meltdown. So this guy loses his job, and he puts an ad out for a roommate, and he ends up getting a spirit animal from the spirit world as a roommate, and that sort of leads to all these adventures in New York happening. So it's kind of like slice of life every day with like fantastical shit like happening to the characters.
And it takes place in New York.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Interesting. We got. All right. I'm gonna grab a link of your brother's comic here. We're just. Hello.
Oh, sorry about that. boot it
Yeah,
up
cut
for a
out for a
second.
second. I'm gonna grab a link for your brother's comic because like yeah, we're gonna make it be the Lange episode here on Black Comics
Cool.
for Rosarium in general. Yeah. So yeah, what's up? Marcus, what are you working on right now? What are you doing right now? We brought you to the show late tonight.
As we speak, I'm just finishing up some colors on Cash and Carry.
Cash and Carry's almost out the door.
Yeah.
Yes. Sean, if you're listening, is coming.
So is he cracking the whip? Is he gonna be messing with you?
No. He's not. He's mad cool. He's mad cool about it all. But I'm excited to have it done because I've been living with it for a while and
You've been literally breathing it, huh?
Yeah, but in a good way, And my daughter's like really into the story. She's got a million questions.
Oh, so, wow.
She's gonna want to interview Sean too. So it's coming together.
No doubt.
But yeah, man. But
I have a question. I don't know. Have y'all heard about or at all been exposed to this new show, Clever Man? Did you guys check out Clever Man? Have you heard about it?
I've heard the name. I don't know what it is though. What is it?
I saw the premiere episode of it. Ted, have you heard about Clever Man? Familiar with Clever Man? So it's an I guess an Australian science fiction show.
About an Aborigine, right?
A lot of it is about Aboriginal culture or Aboriginal characters.
Okay.
Did we?
I think we did lose him.
Did we lose Ted? So he'll get back in here. So it's a show that's largely about Aboriginal characters, but I guess Aborigines in the show are kind of reconfigured as. I mean, the premiere doesn't exactly explain it right, but they're almost like another kind of life form. They're human-like. They look human, but they've got a lot of hair, kind of like, I don't know, a primitive man maybe. And so they're kind of sequestered. They're segregated in the modern society, and they kind of have to live in these like slum areas. And they're given their own zone. It's called the zone, and that's where they can live. And they can't live among the regular people.
Sounds like District 9.
Yeah, it does.
Sorta.
Yeah.
Sorta. Like, except they're like for the most part like humans. Like they look very human-like. They're not like they're very slightly kind of animalistic, or anthropomorphic to something else. But they're for the most part human. And it's got the dude from Game of Thrones in it, Jorah, the dude who bounced out. Well, let me not leave Game of Thrones spoilers here, but Jorah Mormont, who was Daenerys' like right hand dude. He's in it. He's like the one of the characters in it. But it's a really I don't think there's ever been a show that references Aborigine culture at all, and this show does. It's not about it, but it does reference it. And from what I understand, like the kind of creation of the show came from a father who is Aborigine, and he wanted to kind of make a show, some sci-fi show for his kid that includes people of their culture because nothing existed.
I did hear about that. Yeah.
So wait, where can you see this?
It's airing on Sundance right now.
I don't have Sundance.
Yeah, I don't have it either.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's methods to find
yeah,
such a thing
I'm
on the
sure.
internet.
Maybe I can slip some ways for you.
Yeah, there's probably ways.
Something 100% legal, but
Nothing we're going to discuss right here.
No, never.
This is our conjecture. This is hypothetical.
It's theoretical.
Exactly. We're just speaking like if such a thing existed, one could use it.
Exactly.
Not that we know of anything like that.
Right. No. We would never endorse. We would never endorse a thing like that.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, I will say, like, I mean, it's a sci-fi show that seems to have a lot of people of color presence in it, which is cool. It's at least with the premiere, it's got a lot of cliches. It's got a lot of I don't know how you guys feel about like expository dialogue in the media you consume. I don't know what your thoughts on it are. But when like you're watching a show and there's a character who's like been recently introduced and then the characters in a conversation where they're like, look, I know, I grew up there, I know, and they're just like explaining why they're relevant, like in the conversation, so that you know.
I don't
the
like
show
that.
does a lot of that. It does a lot of like establishing like, you know, these kinds of intentions and backgrounds and histories. They're doing a lot of tell and less show for a bunch of the characters.
Is the show any good? You keep talking around it. Is the show any good?
I'm not. The premiere didn't knock me out of my socks, but I'm willing to check out a few more episodes. I think it's up to episode 3 or 4 right now. It got me enough where I want to see where it goes, but it's not. I'm not in love with it. I want to be, but I'm not really.
Did you guys ever see that sci-fi joint with Malik Yoba and the people with powers? It went on for a couple of seasons.
No.
Which one was that?
Oh man, it was. I thought it was well done. I don't know why I got the axe.
It got axed, but it went for more than one season?
Yeah, it went for like 2 or 3 seasons. It was really good.
Was it on Sci-Fi Channel, or where would you see
Sci-Fi
it?
Channel. It was on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Oh, that's probably why that happened, right? Because
It was
sci-fi.
original programming.
They destroy shows.
Yeah.
Sci-fi goes to die, right?
Oh, that's
No, I shouldn't
sad
say
but
that.
true.
I shouldn't say that because Dark Matter, was one of my favorite summer shows last year. I thought Dark Matter was well done. I was thoroughly impressed with that, and it was a normal show, and I'm using normal as opposed to a diversity, because it looked like my city looks like with, it's not homogeneous, right? It's not it's not snowing every day. So.
Mm-hmm.
It's not snowing.
But no, I mean Google, man. I mean check it out, dude. It was
I'll look it up.
Yeah, you got it.
I never realized that went more than one season. I remember hearing about it, but I never really picked it up.
And don't get me wrong, it wasn't great, but at that time it was probably some of the better sci-fi on TV.
Okay. No problem. Hello?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's happening, Ted?
We thought
Sorry about that, guys. I got pulled off over here.
we thought we was gonna get a ransom note. Yeah, and I was like, man, we don't even know that cat that well. So
Oh, that's man.
That's cold-blooded.
That's harsh.
I would try to take action, Ted. I don't know what type of action, but
I mean, I'd send an email for sure.
exactly, I would do something.
I might tweet about it. I mean,
Which might you? Okay.
40 characters is limiting. I don't know how much I can do, right?
I hear you. Yeah, Ted, we were talking about some modern day sci-fi stuff. Thelonious was mentioning.
Sorry about that.
It's all right. You there?
Yeah, I'm back.
Cool. We were talking about some modern day like sci-fi TV. I brought up Cleverman. I don't know if you've partaken of that yet. That's on Sundance. That's a new Aboriginal science fiction epic series that just started. And Thelonious was mentioning Dark Matter, which I haven't seen. I don't know if the other chat has seen Dark Matter. Dark Matter?
I haven't seen Cleverman. I have seen Dark Matter. I think it's fucking great.
Yeah.
No, Dark Matter is good, and I don't know if it's good because my expectations were so low, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, it's better than I thought it was, and then I kept watching, and I was like, it hasn't sucked yet, so it's like my summer show.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, sci-fi is tricky like that. They brought you Battlestar, but they also brought you Sharknado.
Ooh.
Oh, but you know what they brought us? They brought us somewhat recently, which I finally got into, was The Man in the High Castle, which was amazingly great.
Was that any good?
That was excellent. That was
Wait, is that sci-fi or is that Amazon?
That's it. Oh no. We're talking about. I'm talking about sci-fi, like the subject.
Yeah, sorry, I meant
not
Sci-Fi
the-
Network.
No. Oh, so you're talking about good sci-fi shows? You mean you got
on,
it?
on Sci-Fi Channel.
Do you have any sci-fi channel shows that are good?
No, I mean, I definitely want to hear about the High Castle, but because I read the book, but
To me, Battlestar Galactica was probably the best sci-fi show of the last decade. I mean,
by far.
That's a
I might agree with that. Yeah.
That and Fringe.
Yeah.
I never really got into Fringe.
The only issue I had with Fringe.
But
was-
Dawson's Creek guy?
No.
That dude will be pacey until he's dead. He'll be pacey when he's like
it wasn't
an old dude with a beard.
I never watched Dawson's Creek, so I mean, and why would I? Right?
My only thing is Astrid. You know, I mean the lone. I believe she was the lone character of color on the show, and like.
I thought there was like a Puerto Rican dude, but they killed him off with spiders or something.
Well, yeah, exactly.
No, seriously, he died. He like got
Yeah, but she was treated like such a side character, and it was almost like in the story,
because she was a side character.
Well, yeah, but like she actually was smarter than a lot of them, but like it didn't matter. It was almost like her. I don't know. It was a little too close to home, man. Felt like the workplace.
Right. But I mean, it was a good show. Outside of them not having
outside of that
characters of color, right? So, but then that's where Dark Matter picks up the baton. It has all that.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, I know.
I kind of I was like, I watched one episode just kind of like to put something on while I eat, while I ate, and then I was like, oh, wait up, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, I was the same way. I was like, let me watch this, and I was like, was that really good, or have I been drinking too much, or I'm gonna watch it again, and I was like, no alcohol this time, right? And I was like, wow, that's much. I mean, it took me like 3 shows for me to actually admit that this show didn't suck.
I'm really looking forward to season 2. I'm gonna have to wait for Netflix for it to watch it, but I'm looking forward to season 2.
I'm definitely looking forward to season 2. I mean, they ended the season right. The way you're supposed to close one story, hint at another one. So
yeah. Jay and Monk came up in the chat and he was asking if we were talking about alphas. Has anybody seen that?
Oh, that's the show I was talking about with Malik Yoba.
Oh, that's the Malik Yoba show. Oh.
Yeah, alphas. I thought it was a good show. Okay. I liked it.
I just watched the pilot. I didn't really get fully into it.
Yeah. It was a couple characters on there that I really liked, man. And I just liked the explanation of their powers. I felt like it was grounded, right? I was like it was like, it tweaked real science, which to me is some of the best science fiction you could get, which is why I liked Fringe and X-Files so much. It wasn't so crazy outlandish where you like, have to disband in belief, but you'd be like, okay, I can see how they could do that.
Yeah, that's a tightrope. That's tricky to accomplish. Yeah, I mean, right now, until Battlestar Galactica, I find it hard to really argue with that notion that that's the best sci-fi show of the past decade. It probably is.
Yeah.
A Man in the High Castle is I guess not necessarily a sci-fi show, but like it is in the sense that that Kindred is a sci-fi book, if you want to go with that, or like a speculative fiction.
Isn't it ultimate fiction?
I mean, I guess in its plot progression, but I think it's like Kindred's considered like speculative fiction, which falls in the sci-fi banner, and Man in the High Castle is like speculative fiction. Yeah, it's like it's what would have happened if the Axis powers had won the war.
Right.
It's also got that Philip K. Dick. Philip K. Dick is very prolific sci-fi writer.
Yeah.
Kind of like probably even more now. Like his stuff is becoming more relevant, so it probably falls into the.
He gets bigger the longer he's dead.
Oh man.
He just does. Like people actually just more and more people hear about him. Ever since then. But no, like it's like. I haven't really watched an Amazon Prime show until that one, and it was like astonishingly great. I recommend everyone see it. It's really, really good.
I'll definitely check it out.
Good TV. You have to, yeah. Marcus and I are like long time dickheads, as I like to. Is that the term?
I think we need to workshop that. I don't know about that, man. Let's get a few other options out there and go with the one that tests well.
Okay, all right, fine. I'll bring it back to the drawing board. What else have y'all been watching or reading?
Game of Thrones, dude.
Dude, that last episode. Hello?
Hey, Ted,
I keep getting pulled off. I should probably go back to things over here, guys.
Okay, all right, it's fine, man. It's fine. We'll wrap up. I know we were getting up in the mix. We were interrupting stuff, but we appreciate you being on.
Yeah, thanks.
Really, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the chance to talk with you guys.
Maybe come back for issue 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Cool.
Which is soon. So yeah, keep an eye out for Warp Zone issue 2 for sure.
Yeah, and definitely keep us abreast of the how your comic does, and keep us back with, hopefully, we'd like to have you back with good news.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You got options.
Awesome.
All right, man. All right, go do your thing.
All right, good talking to you guys. Thanks.
Okay, peace.
All right, man. Peace.
Bye.
So,
Game of Thrones, man. Game of
Dude.
Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
They killed 1-1 or whatever the giant's name was.
That hurt. There's probably gonna be spoilers if we're talking Game of Thrones right now. Everybody should realize that.
If you're on the internet and you haven't watched Game of Thrones, you don't know how the internet works. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like I don't know how you can be a Twitter user and not watch if you're not watching Game of Thrones, then you've just decided not to watch any of it apparently.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like you wouldn't be following anybody on Twitter.
That's kind of where I'm at. I like it, but I'm a few seasons behind, and I've had it all spoiled, so it's all good.
Dude, I'm just saying and we talked about this last segment. If you got internet, there's ways of, I've heard this. I've read this. That there's ways of watching shows.
I hear you.
Theoretically, of course. Don't.
All theory. It's all theory.
This is all. None of this is in practice. This is just like there are ways.
Don't jump up in my mentions.
Yeah, no, for certain. Game of Thrones kind of this season I feel like overall has like won me over like hell because last season I sort of checked out of the show. Like I kind of stopped giving a shit about everything.
And last season was the worst book out of all the books.
Oh, you're up on the text as well.
Yeah, the first 3 books was great. I thought the first 3 shows was great. And then he kind of meanders. Like he decided in his mind he was going to make 7 books. And then when he didn't have enough content to make 7 books, he stretched it. Like he was going to make 7 books regardless. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he signed a contract with his publishing house. Be like, we want 7 books. You promised us 7 books. And so the 5th book was like, I'm going to just write, Jon Snow, not deciding to do anything, and Daenerys not deciding to do anything. They don't do anything till like the last episode. The entire episode, they're like, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? I'm talking about the previous season.
Yeah, I mean, the previous season I feel like just it puttered around a lot. So that makes sense that like it's actually with like his like synthetic extension of the books. I always repeat this thing that's like perhaps apocryphal, but like apparently this is true that apparently George R.R. Martin has an assistant whose like entire purpose is to just make sure that he doesn't die, like just so he writes the book because he needs to finish the books.
He's like the president, right? I mean, it's that important.
Yeah, like so apparently there's like this person who's basically there to make sure like he eats a salad occasionally, goes to see a doctor. Like she's like a hardcore assistant where she says that like she'll be like chasing him around all the time to like make sure he's staying healthy, and then like he's out of her sight for a minute. She turns around and he's like laying on the couch with like a pizza box on his lap. And she's like, oh, no, you gotta stay with me, George. You gotta stay with me. She's like grabbing him by the collars, like shaking him, like, come on, man, like slapping him in the face. No, not all that. But apparently there is really like a person who's like keeping an eye on him.
So what are the qualifications for that job? Do you need like a medical degree? Do you need type 40 words a minute?
I think a CPR certification is a minimum.
Right.
And a dietitian.
Yeah, maybe a nutritionist degree. I mean, that probably wouldn't hurt. Make sure he's eating that kale.
And then you would have to have asshole up in there somewhere. You have to be a jerk.
you have to be like shaking him around, smacking slices of pizza out of his hand.
Because a nice person could do that job. A nice person could do that job.
No, it's true, man. It's true. And I know it sounds like bullshit what I just said, but that was apparently like it made the news rounds like a couple years ago or something.
I believe it.
I missed that.
Yeah, all right. I don't even know if I want to start googling George R. R. Martin's personal assistant, but I'm telling you, I'm not pulling that out of my ass.
I believe you, bro.
I believe you. All right. But yeah, this season has kind of renewed my faith in the show and everything Games of Thrones related in general.
Tony Snark said he's a home attendant.
All right. Okay. All right. Fair.
He's like a step away from hospice.
Yeah. No. That's legit.
I mean, the first 3 books were great.
Were they? See, like, so my like entire introduction to Game of Thrones thing was I got like halfway through the first book, and I was just like, he doesn't need to explain what everybody fucking wears all the time. And he's like, he was wearing boiled leather and a pendant knocking on his chest and a cape, and he had the locket that his wife gave him. And it's just like every character is brought to you with like this bizarre level of apparel detail. And it just like started weighing on me. I'm like, the only way I'm going to read this book is I'm going to be like skipping chunks of it, and I don't want to do that. The only cool thing I think about the books, which is like, I know that like this is a really like illegitimate way to experience Game of Thrones, but like I think the idea that every chapter is told by a different person means that like if you felt like it, you could just read Daenerys' Game of Thrones. You could like just read the Daenerys chapters and like nothing else, or you could be like, I just want to read the Jon Snow chapters.
Well, you know, I like that so much. I copied it in my writing. Like my chapters are written from different POVs.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah, I actually suck at it though. So,
I dig that. I like that quality.
But to me, it gives you a full picture because if you read everything from the Lannister sister, what's her name, the crazy one?
Cersei
Lannister. She has such a warped view. I remember when she was just like, I don't know if it was the end of in the book 3. I was reading from her POV, and she just saw things like, you know, I'm so smart, I'm on top of this. I'm giving, you know, these guys gold to build boats, and she gave them gold, and they built the boats, and they left. But you don't know this until you read it from like another POV, and everybody else is like, oh my God, she's an idiot.
Right.
And so you get a more holistic view of the true character of a person, right?
Right, because that's life.
Yeah, that's life, right?
Yeah.
And so I actually, I copied that. I was like, wow, what a great idea. When I'm gonna write a book, I'm gonna do that. And I think I sold like 3 books. So.
You got more. You're gonna be selling more. So.
Yeah. We just getting started, Thelonious.
No, but I mean, I actually like that style. So
I think that's a really cool style, and I think that is like because it gets to kind of it gets to contend with hubris and the picture that people have of themselves, and then like you see them interpreted through other perspectives, and the show does that too, which is why there's like a kind of titillation sometimes when like all of a sudden characters are in the same room together and you're like, holy shit, oh my God, it's like the Hound and this other person, you know, like I never thought. And then so the show I think kind of imparts that quality as well, but that is a strength of the writing. I think that's a cool
if you're able to do it effectively. If you're able to do it effectively, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because when he was writing from Cersei's point of view, I was like, Cersei's not as dumb as I thought she was, right? And then he wrote from like somebody else's point of view, and they was like, oh my God, she's an idiot. And I was like, I was right. She is as, you know, as clueless as I thought she was. So,
but the truth's got to be in between those viewpoints as well. Because
no,
she's probably smarter than she thinks it is. She thinks she is, and they probably think she's dumber than she thinks she is.
No, Cersei, the first 3 books, man, she was she was smarter than Ned Stark. I'm not saying she was smarter, but she played the game better than Ned Stark, right? Ned Stark had this thing called honor, and he got decapitated for it.
Yeah. Rest in peace, man. That's that's Eddard. But Game of Thrones for sure has been a thing, dude. I have to say, it took me a few episodes, but Preacher is like the truth, man.
Are you serious?
Preacher's really good. I
watched one episode of Preacher and I was like, okay, I'm good.
I watched the premiere and if there were methods, all right, let's get off that. I watched the premiere and I was like, I don't know, but like I'm a pretty big fan of the comic book series, so I actually went to pursue more, and I'm happy I did because it finds its footing quickly. Like each episode kind of gets a little better, a little more. Positions itself a little better in the grand scheme to give you a hint of the picture, and it's totally, completely different than the comic in many fundamental ways. But almost all those decisions that they made to change things, I enjoy, and I think make the show better. And I recommend Preacher. I posted a tweet a while ago about this because I was like the same way. I watched the first episode and I was just like, I don't really know what's going. I kind of like Tulip, but I don't really know what the story is with like.
You know what we should do? We should just have a Black Comic Chat, just like showing movie reviews. Because we're doing it now.
Well, it kind of devolves into that sometimes. It does, just because we're visual people, you know.
But we should have we could put up a poll, and be like, what shows you guys want us to review and you know, have a guest on or whatever. Because I watched like the first episode of Preacher, and I was like, that's not bad, but I'm not gonna, you know, schedule my life around seeing it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I got a comic I read that I recommend.
You read a comic this week, Marcus? Does that mean you weren't working? Don't tell Sean. Don't tell Sean you were reading comics.
You know we live, Marcus.
I did. It's all good. It's all good. Hey man, I'm a free man. Nah, but
he about to jump up in your mentions.
It's all good. I read The Twilight Children, which is written by Gilberto Hernandez, who we mentioned briefly before. Yeah, but it's also drawn by Darwin Cook, so it's it's kind of bittersweet because it's like I believe his last published.
Oh Lord!
Well, yeah, it's a brilliant book. It's like classic Gilberto, and because I don't know about you, I feel like we've talked about this, but I feel like as much as I love Gilbert, like some of his work in recent years has gotten like a little weird for me. Like
I feel like I love everything he did with Love and Rockets.
Right.
Unapologetically until they came to America. And then after they came to America, it gets weird, it gets twisted, it gets really messy, it gets kind of nihilistic, and until that point, like, he was my preferred Love and Rockets tales for the writing. But yeah, he's kind of an oddball.
Hey man,
but you know this book is brilliant though. Like, what's up, Claudius?
I'm intrigued.
I don't mean to derail the conversation, but L.A. Kendrick up in Black Comic Shot is cracking me up.
What is he doing?
So he's doing a humble brag. So he's commenting on the conversation, and he got like this amazing piece of art that has nothing to do with his comment. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. All right. Is it like, what is it? Is it the Sistine Chapel ceiling? Like, what are we looking at here?
No, it's just a nice piece of art, man. But he's commenting on the show. I was like,
oh, that is bad. That is cool.
L.A. Kendrick, we see you, bro. We know you got skills. We're gonna have you on the show for real, cause this cat every time I'm on the show, man, this cat's he's there. You know what I mean?
He's definitely posting content.
He's posting content. That's funny, dude. We see you, bro. I think that's innovative. He's like, check out my mixtape.
Yeah. Okay. All right. He's outside Tower Records. Twilight Children.
Yeah. So it's definitely got that classic feel, like, from the Gilbert Hernandez stories, and obviously Darwin Cook.
For people who don't know who Gilbert Hernandez is, can background?
Yeah, so Gilbert Hernandez is, one of the Hernandez brothers who, like going back to the 80s, they created Love and Rockets, which if you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. It's all collected, but definitely check it out. Like, Love and Rockets is a story, and the cool thing is, the Hernandez brothers, they're Mexican, and the stories take place. So Gilbert's stories take place in Palomar. Which is I guess it's in Mexico, right, Leo?
It's a theoretical.
Yeah.
It's like quasi fantastical.
Right. But it's really good. And then Jaime Hernandez, his brother, also, like, he's got his own tales, most of which take place in L.A., which is where the Hernandezes live. But it's really cool.
Well, it takes place in Hoppers.
Hoppers, yeah.
Hoppers, yeah. Which is, I think, like a melange of like LA's urbanism and Oxnard, which is where the brothers grew up.
True.
Yeah, but yeah, like Los Bros they're probably the largest influence on Snow Days overall. They're heroes for Marcus and I, and I think they have probably some of the greatest comics of our era in Love and Rockets. For sure. And yeah, we were talking like, Gilberto, because the thing with Love and Rockets is that they're perpetual stories. Right. They go on over they've been publishing Love and Rockets for 30 years, 25 years.
It's got to be 30.
It might be 30 at this point. And the stories are basically have like many they introduce new characters very slowly, but they do introduce new characters. But a lot of those characters have been kicking around for the entire run, and they evolve and change and move different places and become different people, and they're pretty amazing. I mean, those were some early and very popular people of color represented in comics, Hispanics, Latino people in comics, which, as I always say, is I feel like there's a wide dearth. There still is a dearth.
Absolutely.
Latinos in comics, and that was like singularly positioned to be one of the shining lights.
Oh, I just saw the image you guys put up of Twilight Children.
Yeah, I want to read this, Marcus. Yeah, you've inspired me to check this out.
Yeah, and it's really. Oh, go ahead, Lance.
I was gonna say, and Leo, you've been on Valiant Comics for a minute, man.
I'm still Valiant. Valiant is life. Like it's all.
They gotta pay you, man.
I know Valiant because Valiant does it right. Valiant has the representation. Valiant has the writers. Valiant. I am 100% sure. Just because also there's some, for instance, Shadow Man, which I think I've mentioned before, which is another revival of the New Valiant era, is a comic with a biracial character as the main character. And I want to say Shadow Man reminds me a lot in the way of what Ted's doing with Warp Zone. I don't think the first issue gives you a hell of a lot. I don't think it's a comic that grabs you by the collar right off the bat, but it gets really, really, really good. And Valiant, I feel in a way is kind of like the HBO kind of deal where, look, HBO does axe shows. Recently they axed Final. I don't know if we heard about that, but yeah, they finally getting a second season. HBO doesn't do that a lot. HBO, for the most part, a show will be on, it's critics love it, it's not getting a lot of views, and they're like, nah, leave it on. It's good. Let it go. Let it kind of run its course. And that's Valiant. Valiant's going to put out a book and let it kind of find its footing and not necessarily see, oh my God, there's a black person in the book, cancel it. Cancel the book. No one's buying it right away.
So they give it a time to build an audience.
They really do, which I feel is rare in the business. Comics, talking about TV, but comics specifically, I feel it's rare. Marvel's Marvel's thing. I mean, DC's thing in general is they'll give a comic 1 or 2 issues and they're done. Then you won't ever hear from them again. That ain't getting collected. That goes nowhere. That goes in the landfill with all the Atari ET cartridges that we hear about. That's where that goes. It vanishes. But Valiant is willing to give the time and space for these unique ideas.
I will say what Marvel does. Marvel is great at generating hype and buzz. Probably of all the companies, and they do it in I think it's a bit cynical, and we've talked about this on the show before. They'll do it because Captain America and Thor is a brand. And so they'll lend the brand to a minority woman and be like, look what we're doing, and everybody gets all excited, and I'm just like that, and maybe I'm cynical, right? And
I mean, with reason.
I'm invest in new characters and build the audience from the ground up instead of lending a brand to a character. You know what I'm saying, and then giving it, because you're going to get the shield back in the
This is my prediction.
True, yeah.
My prediction is that first of all, you're right. I totally agree, and they should. I feel at the end of the day, they are going to be forced to catch up or be left behind because these companies are realizing that diversity is something that audiences want. They told us forever that we didn't want it, but clearly they're catching up. You know what I'm saying? Oh, go ahead.
No, so here's the thing. So there'll be a demand for a black comic, and so Marvel might do a black comic, and then if the numbers don't hit, they'll be like, "See, we tried," which is total BS.
Right, but this is, and I agree. I totally agree. But I will say that I think the successes of some of the books where they have stepped out, even if they have, like with Miles or some of the other characters, borrowed the mantle of a pre-existing character, those books have hit home. You know what I'm saying? You remember when that USA Today article came out about Miles Morales, and a bunch of people that didn't even read comic books were getting it all in there and getting all angry and up in arms, you know what I'm saying? But at the very least, Marvel put the book out and it's still going strong, and some of the other diverse books that have succeeded. So my thing is I think yeah, we need to do what we're doing and shine the light on the independent creators. I'm just saying, I think in the long run, Marvel's going to have to catch up because even beyond like diversity, if you look at some of the best Marvel books right now, they're books that borrow heavily from the indie comics world. You know what I'm saying? Like they're books that kind of have that indie feel.
Give me an example.
Well, I'm saying like even if you read Marvel Girl, it doesn't read like
My daughters read Marvel Girl. They love it.
right, but to me it had the feel of it is something that easily I could see on Image. You know what I'm saying? And then like yeah, just some of the other there's some Marvel books that are very conventional. You know, you got your Civil War twos, and they're like books that you see over and over again. But some of the newer books they are trying different things, and it's not always with a black character necessarily, but like I'm saying even their approach, even sometimes even just artistically, is a little more indie than what they would used to do. So, but I'm not here to cheerlead for Marvel. So, you know,
Too late. No, I feel what you're saying. I feel what you're saying, Marcus. I feel what you're saying. I mean, my thing is Marvel is a $1 billion company.
yeah.
Yeah, they're the beast. They're the beast. Like
I mean, you know what I mean? And they put out a lot of quality work. And
they do. Well, they would end up doing it just by accident because they put out so much of it.
yeah.
Right.
And my thing, diversity isn't a trend. You gotta make a commitment, and I think the audience will reward you. Your audience will reward you if they say you true to the game.
Yeah.
I tell you what, look at and we've brought Shonda Rhimes up a few times, or at least I have. Look how she got one show. She had a chance to do. Mm-hmm. She had a couple other shows that I forget, one got canceled or whatever. But ABC recognized what they had in her, and 3-4 years later, she got Thursday Night on lock.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's the difference in between doing what NBC or CBS do, is have a couple of shows with minorities, or women of color or whatever, on the screen, and investing in diversity. You know what I'm saying? ABC is doing it better than any other station right now, and at the beachfront, at the Vanguard is Shonda Rhimes, and I don't see the other stations catching up with that anytime soon.
Well, what do you think of all these rumblings about all the people of color being cast in the new Spider-Man movie?
Yes, yeah. Bokeem is up.
They got Bokeem Woodbine hot off his amazing performance in Fargo, which I love. Did you all see Fargo? I was talking myself hoarse about that like a year ago.
Yeah. I'm playing.
I didn't finish it. Fargo's this shit, isn't it? But so my thing is I'm a writer, so I want to see what the writer room look like. You know what I mean? So I love black people on the screen. You know what I'm saying? But contrary to what Matt Damon says, you do it behind the camera as well. You know what I mean? Matt Damon.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
No.
He's blotting it out. All right. I'm Wikipediaing Spider-Man: Homecoming right now. We got John Francis Daly. Let's play the "Is this writer a black man?" Okay. John Francis Daly, is this writer a black man?
I'm gonna go with no on that.
Yeah, you'd be correct if you went with no. We're gonna try it on the second writer. It's Jonathan Michael Goldstein. Okay.
I'm gonna roll the dice. I think he's half black.
Okay, wait. But you know what? You know what he's written for?
It was Terrence Goldstein, maybe.
Okay, but you know what he's written for? This makes him at least at 116. He wrote for the PJs.
The law was 1/8.
All right.
Okay, all right. So that that's he gets maybe that's.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say no.
Yeah, he's not. But he did write for the PJs. Okay. He also wrote for the Gina Davis show, whatever that is. So I mean, he kind of loses some points too, but maybe at least 1/16, maybe 1/32, maybe 1/32s. But
just say if it was back in the day, he would pass.
He would certainly pass. He'd pass back in the 1700s, I'm sure. But yeah, so that's the writers' room for Spider-Man: Homecoming. So okay, to answer that question, Thelonious, we're not in melanin territory. It doesn't seem like it.
Melanin deficient.
Yeah. I mean, but I mean, okay. I want to play devil's advocate here for a moment. In spite of that comment, which is clearly an issue, and I hope maybe more people are gonna be pulled in that writer's room. But I want to say that for the not the showrunners, but the producers and the creators of Spider-Man: Homecoming, which I am excited for, to be pulling a lot of talented people of color for it is a pretty ballsy move, regardless of where they come from. Like that I was really surprised to see all those actors being talked about. I was genuinely shocked.
I'm agree to disagree.
Okay.
I think what we have.
You think they're courting?
No, well, I think what we're happening here. I think Black Panther so lit trending like 2 years before the movie came out. I think they got a lot of executives was like looking at ways that they could engage. I mean, because pretty much Black Twitter run these Twitter streets. I'm not gonna lie.
Right? They making moves.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and so I think what you see is a lot of people in movies are trying to mine and you said you used the word safari. You know what I'm saying? I think they're doing data mining on Black Twitter and see what hits.
Oh, that's absolutely happening. Yes.
And so if a brother gets a job because that's great, but at the same time
there's reasons for it.
There needs to be cats behind the camera. You know what I mean? There needs to be cats in meetings making dishes, making movies, making decisions. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm a fan of Bokeem Woodbine. I mean, I was when him and Bamboo got into it from Strybeck, and I was like, oh my god. You know what I'm saying? So. And I every time that cat's on camera, he brings it. And I'm gonna watch Spider-Man: Homecoming regardless because I'm a nerd and those have movies nerds go see.
You know what does have a black writer room is Luke Cage.
Oh, it does.
Looking forward to that.
Dude, and we gonna blow that up. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We're gonna blow that up. But I'm just saying, Cass is dynamiting Black Twitter because if you want your movie to trend, you know what I'm saying, get Black Twitter involved and it will trend.
I can't disagree with anything you're saying.
If you want to be roasted, like Becky with the bad grades, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just, that's free advertising.
No, I mean, you're right. I feel like you're right, but I feel like people are still going to be pissed off, or must be pissed off that I don't know. There must be someone that's upset that their precious character is being intruded on with this kind of recent promotion.
Yeah, they'll be okay.
I'm sure they will be. I'm saying that like there are people who must be questioning why there's all these black actors getting cast in the new Spider-Man movie. When Spider-Man himself there's no Miles in this movie, at least to our knowledge.
But I mean, Spider-Man takes place in New York.
True.
If it was in Montana, I'd be like, okay,
Yeah, no, you're.
And so you saying there's black people that'd be like, who brought the black guy?
Man.
who let the black guy in? It's closed.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is. I think I'm swinging to it being calculated, and that's you know what? It's like the idea is we need to make it be calculated just to get them in the writers' room. It's like make that trend.
I mean, producers.
Yeah.
I really, when you see, diversity is vertical and horizontal. You know what I mean? You can't just put cats in the camera and then break your arm by patting yourself on the back, be like, I did my thing. You know what I'm saying? Like you tithe in that church or whatever. I mean, come on, dog.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I totally agree with Thelonious that we should have our movie review show. We can wrap this just a little early because our guest had to squeak out.
Yeah, I want to have Tony Snark in for the movie review joint.
Oh my dude,
no doubt.
We need Otero like up in this like seriously.
Yeah, let's set that up. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do that, man. We're gonna have to put up a poll to see what movie they want reviewed. And I think if you put Game of Thrones on there, that's gonna win. So if you haven't watched Game of Thrones, don't put it on the poll. You know what I'm saying? Because the thumb's gonna be on the scale. But we definitely gotta do that, bro.
Yeah,
Especially
Thelonious, I think that's truth. Because like we do enough of it on the show, and like it just evolves into that because it's comics. But
yeah.
no, I agree with you. All right, we're gonna have to put feelers out to Senor Otero and talk this up. But yeah, just I know I'm really hyped for Grace. I tweeted the link out earlier. Grace is going to be doing that podcast with people in Japan. Did you guys hear about that? Yeah, she's
no, I didn't.
Yeah, dude, this is Carmen Sandiego. This is how she do. She's up in Japan. She's here. She's going from like West Coast. She's not going there, but she's going to be on there. So that's why she had to cut out early. But I think it's fine for us to put a pin in things. And get this ready. You guys have any last shout outs to our amazing audience?
No, I mean everybody that listens and retweets, man. Much love. There's 1,000,001 podcasts out there, so that anybody listening to Black Common Chat, appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, shout out to everyone. I just want to say that there's gonna be some new episodes up soon in the podcast feed, so look out for that. Almost done with Cash and Carry. Shout out to Sean. And so yeah.
And we got Guan coming October. I hear is the published date. We're gonna have the Guan anthology cooking. We'll talk probably more about that in these upcoming episodes. But
and me and Leo gonna have to do a side project, man.
I'm down. I'm down.
Dude, yeah, I gotta finish this joint, man. I'm gonna finish it up into June, man, and then I should have more bandwidth.
Yes, okay. And I got some art for you too. I will have it soon.
Cool.
All right, Joe. So this is a slightly earlier ending Black Comics Chat, but I definitely want to shout out our amazing audience. You guys are awesome, and look for us in 2 weeks.
No doubt.
All right.
All right.
Peace.
Audi 5000 G.
Yep.